Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to At Your Own Pace.
When you're first starting out, like, it's gonna be hard. That doesn't mean that you don't belong there.
I can do whatever, and it's just me being a ridiculous dad that wants to do some good in the world.
I can do this, I am going to do this, and I will do this.
If you're an early morning, 4 a.m. alarm person to get your run in, or you're like me who likes to sleep in and so you'll run at 7 p.m. Either way, it's hard, and I'm going to cheer for you, get to your goals. And if you don't, I'm going to be the shoulder for you to lean on as well.
It's forced me to get myself uncomfortable. And I think I've started to get that comfort with the uncomfortable.
Why don't I deserve a chance to be happy and not beat myself up over a bad run?
In more ways than one, running probably saved my life.
I'm Mike from Mike Runs Marathons, and I believe that running has the power to change how we see ourselves, how we show up in the world, and how we connect with each other. At Your Own Pace is a place for honest conversations about growth, resilience, identity, and the courage it takes to keep moving forward when things feel hard or uncertain. Every guest who comes on this show brings a story that reminds us that we're not alone in our journey and that you don't need a PR, a podium, or a perfect training plan to belong here. You just need the willingness to keep showing up. For today's guest, this is somebody who embodies what running at your own pace looks like in real life. If you follow Mike, you won't see the flashy workouts or the constant highlight reels that we see from other running influencers, but what you will see is going to be the consistency, the discipline, and the running that fits into everyday life, which is something that so many of us struggle with. He shows what it looks like to keep showing up year after year, balancing training with real responsibilities and staying committed without making running his entire identity, which is sometimes really difficult for some of us, myself included. I'm excited to talk about how his relationship with running has evolved, what consistently actually looks like behind the scenes, and why the long-term approach matters more than those quick wins and crossing the finish line. So without further ado, let me bring in Mike. Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Going good. That was a heck of an introduction.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's great to meet you. Thank you for reaching out about talking about your story. There are so many people that I've spoken to that are, the person who runs after work or the person who has done ultras, people who try to raise money for fundraising, and their stories are incredible and they need to be shared. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Absolutely.
I wanted to jump in first with, talking about how did running become part of your routine rather than just some sort of phase?
I mean, it's funny because I do joke sometimes about that's what I am. I work, I run.
Yeah.
But just thinking back, like it's been over a little more than 9 years now. Friend of mine saw me losing weight, getting to better shape, and he said, "Listen, why don't you come to this, what we called a boutique that we had locally?" And said, "Just come on a Tuesday night and come run a 5K, just as a low run club." And I was like, I kind of was thinking, well, no way. I don't run, I don't do anything. I'm not the athletic type. I never was. And yeah, I just kind of said, you know what? I took him up on it. And I think that first day I had about a mile in, if that, I had to start walking because I just couldn't keep going with it. Still finished the route. Took me 37 minutes, I want to say, something like that. One of the senior members of the group actually went back out to make sure I didn't get lost.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it just kind of, the bug just kind of bit me. And I was like, let's see what I can do next time and next time. And then I could do the whole thing without walking within about a month. And I just kept seeing the times come down. I had someone tell me that I was going to break 30 minutes. I'm like, no, not happening. And sure enough, now here, say 9 years later, finally hitting a sub 20-minute 5K back in June. Thought it was a fluke. Repeated that in September. So I was like, okay, not a fluke. And now it's one of those things where, I work full time, a full time job, jokingly enough, sitting at a desk playing on Microsoft Excel all day, doing data analytics. So that's like my full time job. But, when it comes to running now, it's opened up so many doors.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my travel now is running related because I finally got to the point where I need to experience life. And if I can take what's been the greatest thing that's happened to my life, which is running, and combine it it's been perfect. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah. No, it's funny you said, I say to people that I'm a runner in conjunction to what else you do. And my wife makes fun of me because uh, I always consider myself now a runner. And she says that the only clothing that I wear is clothing from some sort of race that I did. And she says, it's your whole personality. And I wish that you would wear like other things. And when I do, she's like, oh, you look nice. When you're not wearing a running hoodie or a running t-shirt or something like that. It's funny you pointed out you did a sub 25K and you're like, maybe that was a one-off thing. Let me do it again. That was me. I think it was last year I did the Boston 5K and I was like, I worked so hard I wanted to break a 21-minute 5K and it ended up being like 55 or something like that. And I was like, let me see if I can do that again. I had another big 5K scheduled near the end of the year and I did it and I was like, oh my God, the progress that I made actually is here. And this isn't just like a one-off thing. I can keep doing this. And I've done it a few times since then, which is great. Now, in terms of that work that you do and the training that you do, obviously balancing training is a real responsibility. Like it's something you really have to put forward and make an effort. And because if I could, I would run all the time without having to do my job. What does a successful training week look like to you now compared to, when you're earlier in your running journey? How do you balance between, everyday life and your exercise?
I mean, first and foremost, I have to give my coaches all the credit in the world. It is interesting. Like, I ran to the first 4 years, just all I knew was go. I did not know how to do anything correctly. There's no question about that. I was gearing up to run my first marathon in, 2020.
Well, yeah, me too.
Well, it still happened, just virtually. Yeah, I kind of already had enough stuff prepped out, including a custom-made baseball jersey that said Marathon 20 on it. So I'm like, well, this is happening one way or another. Ended up hiring my coaches during the pandemic. I'm still with them today. I'm their OG. I'm their family, an extra member of the family. I'm like everything now. To their kids, I'm Uncle Bauer. It's just the nicest, coolest thing. But it really depends on what the goal is at the time. Like when I was doing, I had a speed season kind of like earlier this year, and they helped me figure out the speed work that goes towards that. But meanwhile, still hitting my normal, easy 6-mile runs 3 or 4 days a week, a long run still in there because I still had a bunch of half marathons going on. Just take a little break from it. There's a whole balance of things I was trying to juggle. But yeah, normal week now. It's Monday's the one day I don't run. I do yoga in the mornings and I strength train at night. Run Tuesday morning. Usually it's a 6-mile easy at this point. Wednesdays are speed work. Thursdays I go with a group, run about somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5, depending on how fast I want to go that day. If I don't want to run that fast, I hang out with the medium group, as I call it. If I want to go faster, I'll hang out with the fast kids and keep the paces a little tougher, but I like it. Another easy run Friday. Saturday's usually a long run day. Sunday, then another 6-mile easy. Just depends on, again, where I'm at in the training process. I know when I go back to the marathon next year, I'm sure numbers will be a little different, but same general idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I obviously had to learn a lot. And I'll even tell you a funny story on that 20-minute thing. My PR before I hit that this year, it was from 2022. Is the last race I did before turning 40, or last race I was racing, I should say, before I was turning 40. Hit the time, couldn't believe, I think it was like 2029. At that point, I was like, it was a PR, a little faster than I expected. And I'm like, well, maybe I can go for sub 20. The following season, could not come close. Well, I came close, couldn't break it. It seemed like every weekend there's something, wind, weather, something that just said, nope, you're not getting it. Put it on the back burner. This speed season, not speed season, but series came here locally that I was like, I'm going to go for the series and I'm going to race all 5 of these races. First one time out, it's hot as heck and got a PR. It's like, okay, 10 seconds knocked off. I'm like, all right, I guess sub 20 could still happen. We just happen to have the perfect day the following week. Like not too hot, cloud cover, and just, it was fast. And so for a June Sunday, to have a day like that. It was just, I crossed in 1939
Wow.
from 2019 to 19. That's why I thought it was a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
That's a drop. And just like was in disbelief, absolute disbelief. So then, yeah, like I said, then, gearing up for half marathon stuff. I had a half marathon the end of September. I was going for a PR in. The week before, as a 5K, I said, I want to see what I got. And my coach was like, yeah, you go for it. And sure enough, I was like, okay, so 20 was real, and I PR'd again. Like, it wasn't planned; it just happened.
A lot of people you talked about, a lot of people like dream of running a sub 30 5K,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of time to be able to do something like that, a lot of consistency, and you kind of embody that with what you do. Is breaking a 20-minute 5K is a huge accomplishment, and just talking about like working towards getting towards a goal. I worked so hard to try to break a 4-hour marathon, and it took me, I think, at least a marathon 10 or 11 in order to finally do it. And it's really funny. I ran 2022, I ran Berlin, and that was my fourth marathon, I think. And I wanted to break a 4-hour marathon. And I worked so hard to try to get my training. My training was terrible, but I tried to do the best that I could because I didn't know what training was at the time. And I crossed the finish line in exactly 4 hours. I was
Oh my gosh!
so
On the
mad. It was
second?
4 hours and 7 seconds.
Okay.
I was so mad, so mad. And then I just kept trying to work towards it, and I kept missing it and missing it and missing it. And finally, I took my training seriously. I put in that consistency, as you pointed out, and I broke. Actually, right behind me, Tokyo was my first sub 4 marathon, 3:43, which was just something that I wasn't expecting or planning, but it happened. And just speaking about the consistency, your content talks about the steady work that needs to be put in, and not doing those big swings, going consistently too hard or going too fast or too slow, to not having uh, massive amounts of gaps between your training and knowing when you need to show up. You talked about having Mondays off, which is something that I think every runner should consistently try to work towards, is having like a day where I can actually recover. Do you think consistency has given you that intensity alone could never kind of do?
Well, it's definitely kept me a little less injured. That's for sure. I mean, I've had my, everyone has their, their nagging things that happen. I get my IT band syndrome pop up here and there.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think it's kept me disciplined, which is always a huge thing. We always are, we always can be motivated, but if you don't have the discipline, motivation is going to get you nowhere.
Yes.
And I think it's just, trying to think how to word this one, but it's just kept me it's kept me focused. A guy who's an overthinker to no end. You understand that. The field we're in, you need it. It just kept me on the focus, and just, it lets me say, okay, I know what I got to do. Let's just just do it. And for most days for me, it's before I work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be out there days like today was, I think the field like was 28 degrees and we had about 20-mile-per-hour winds. Got to get it done.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, yes, having motivation is great, but it's the actual discipline to keep going that builds the consistency and builds the progress that you want. I can't tell you the amount of motivational speeches that I've listened to in the past, and it really, really, they're like, I'm going to make a change in my life. I'm going to go do it. But then I don't get my butt up and go and work towards it. Or I do it once and it is a struggle, and I realize this is too hard for me. I can't do it.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say with that also, you talk about the motivation stuff. Like, one thing I know people say when they see all the stuff I do is they say I'm the one who inspires them to keep going. That also is a big thing for me. But at the same time, I'm like, I almost want to tell some of these people, like, if I'm inspiring you and you're not going to do, and you don't do anything, I'm not really inspiring you. But there are the people who actually will go and do it. And that's the people who I'm like, I'm happy that I'm like what gave them the motivation to do it. Like, or, just to get going. That's always like, it's not something obviously I think about, but it's always great to hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's so many people that struggle to stay consistent. throughout the years. And the biggest thing for me is once that excitement fades, say you're training for a race, right? The race happens, but you still have to be some sort of consistent with your training afterwards if you want to continue. You have another race coming up, another marathon down the line. What's kind of kept you showing up after that period of time where it might be kind of like, especially right now, this is like the dull moment in marathon training because all the big races are done. We're ending the year, holidays are coming up. What keeps you showing up after that? Like you've did all those races for those series, and then there's a gap. What kept you going in that gap period?
So I think the way, and this is probably where overthinking is a good thing.
Mhm.
I always have something else on the calendar coming up. Like I have my entire next year planned. I know, like, okay, like I know by the time we're recording this thing, I'm actually flying out tomorrow to go for a sub 90-minute half out in Arizona. By the time I think we talked about whenever this airs, like I already have a couple more states down because I'm trying to do the 50 states challenge for half marathons and above.
Nice.
So like there's always that thing of like that's keep me going. Like, all right, I know there's something else on the calendar that like I can't just stop. I can take a couple days off, or a week off depending on what it is. But I know there's always something else on the calendar. That's what keeps me going. Like I know I'm traveling for a half in January, 2 in February. I'm going to do New York City half in March. I go to Europe after that. Yeah, I've never done the New York City half. So this is going to be a fun one for that, for a first time. And being a New Yorker, it's like, how have I not done this yet?
Mhm.
But that's the thing is I just know there's always something next. And I think that's what keeps me going. It's the fact that I know I'm not just like saying, oh, maybe this, maybe that's like, I know exactly what I want to do.
I'm the same way. I remember having the post marathon blues after finishing a race, and it quickly goes away because I realize, oh, I still have to keep training because I have XYZ race coming up, which is something that really helps keep me going as well. Because I think my consistency might actually suffer a little bit if I didn't have something lined up, and it's so important for me to do that because of the overthinking of making sure that I have something that's coming up, whether it's a 5K or whether it's a marathon. Doing something, knowing that I have some sort of there's like keeping my eyes on the prize down the road to get to what I want, and to remind myself, oh, I've got a 4 miler coming up. Well, I've got the New York City half coming up. I need to keep going and keep training because I want to make sure that I can be not necessarily hit a PR, but be in a good shape enough where I can run that race and cross the finish line strong and be happy with myself, and also not be injured, which you pointed out.
And
Injuries
I think
come and go.
and I think the other thing also is knowing which ones I'm going to race, which ones I'm going to do.
Mhm.
That's the other thing. I do so many halves, I cannot race them all. I did 11 this year. I raced 3, and that was, that was just what it was. Like, I know it's just also, being realistic. My coaches keep me grounded if I'm like trying to go too much. Like, no, don't. You can do this, but let's not go crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to know when to pick your battles. And you kind of hinted at this with this mindset, right? Of what it means to be a runner and being smart with your training. But when you're on a run, for example, and it doesn't feel good early on, and your mind is trying to play tricks on you to be like, maybe this isn't the run for me. Maybe I should quit. Maybe I should DNF. Maybe I should just not do this race anymore. How do you decide whether to adjust expectations or to push through? Have you had a bad race? I mean, I ask that question as if like it hasn't happened because it happens to me all the time. But when you're having a quote unquote bad race, what do you do in those moments?
So I'll give you this is an actual story. It's for not my virtual marathon, but my first live marathon, which was May 1st, 22. We have a little one here. It's a little, for us, Long Island doesn't get many big events, unless it's Cal Harbor. But we have a Long Island marathon weekend. I kind of said, well, I'm going to Chicago in 20, but I need my first live one to be local. So Long Island it was the only option I had. That day, it started perfectly, but within 2 hours, it went up 20 degrees. And being May 1st, we had not had a warm day yet. I'd say about mile 18, I started getting dizzy spells. I never once thought about DNFing. I just said, you know what? I'll walk a bit. I'll run. I'll go back and forth. I'll do what I can do. I was surprised by a couple of people who were on the course, cheering, and one of them comes, runs right up to me and just like, "What are you doing?" And I told her what was going on. I said, "I'm trying your method right now. Walk and run, the whole back and forth." I just said to myself, I need to finish this race. Like, I need to finish it. At the same time, I was replaying messages that I've said to other people. There's this one girl who ran a half the year before, was very disappointed. It was a hot day. And her best friend kind of threw me into the fire of like, give her a pep talk right now. And I had every word I said to her in my head because I'm like, if I preach this, but I don't practice it, like that's the last type of person I want to be. I am not, that's not who I am. And I just use those words to keep me going. Just like, it's a hot day here. I'm still finishing a marathon. You can't predict race day. It happens. I made sure I looked strong coming to the finish line. And almost like you, if your 4-hour goal, like that was my goal that day. And I was like 4 hours, 32 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Made up for it in Chicago. I can definitely say that. And yeah, just, it happens. I can't think of a marathon that I've done where something hasn't gone wrong. And you just know, yeah, it's, anything can happen on race day. You just have to take what it gives you. And, like the whole, you get lemons, make lemonade concept. Just, that's all you can do, and thankfully not every single time it's gone wrong, it's been my fault. Like, you can't help when you're at mile 20 and you get a shin splint in Chicago.
Yeah.
And when you're on pace for a massive PR, you keep going.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. And it's funny the practice what you preach thing, because I'm very guilty of giving people advice and support that will be something that could potentially help them, and being very gentle in terms of like when they beat themselves up about something they may not have been able to do. But when it comes to me, if I can't do it, if I can't, not even in running, if I can't succeed at something, if I can't do whatever it is I'm trying to set out to do, I will beat myself up and I will do a lot of negative self-talk. And it's a massive problem that I have. And you just reminded me that I should really start practicing what I preach when I try to tell people and support them for what they do, especially when it comes to running. Now, when those mental conversations that you have, I know you talked about the experience with your first marathon, your first in-person marathon, of saying to yourself what you had said to that woman, but those other mental conversations that you've had for your marathons, you talked about the shin splints in Chicago, for your runs where your body isn't cooperating, but the miles still matter. What are you saying to yourself in those moments?
I pretty much tell myself, don't give up. It's supposed to be hard. A marathon is supposed to be hard. It always humbles you, and you never know what's going to happen. When the shin splint happened, I was just like, first off, I do have the initial reactions of WTF. Like everybody who does. At that point, I just said, okay, do what I can do. And I looked at my time. I'm like, all right, I know I'm going to slow down a little bit here. I'm still going to end up. Actually, that day I hit my realistic goal by 5 seconds. So I still, my realistic, I do the MEB method of setting goals. The A goal, B goal, C, as much as I need. And my B goal was 3:45, and I hit by 5 seconds. I got it. Like, to me, that was still a successful day, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
The only more thing cooler about that was getting my medal straight from Dina Castor, but that's a different story.
Oh, nice.
I wish I was kidding. Like, that is real. But that was, that's always the one that comes to my head, is not giving up. And then just again, just all the mental notes I can think of. Like I said that, before, like, okay, it's a hot day. You can't prepare for that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's a, spring race. And just whatever I needed in that moment. I can't even remember the exact words I would have said to myself at that time. Just whatever I knew I needed to just push. But the biggest one was like, you're finishing this race. As long as you're not, to me, as long as I'm not going to be seriously injured or die, I'm finishing a race. The only time I've ever DNF'd a race and this is before I really started running, was blowing my ankle out in a pothole during a 4-miler.
My goodness.
Yeah. So that happened. I started really running in 2016. I think this was 2014. So yeah, that's the only time I've ever DNF.
Wow. Oh, I can't even imagine that. That's one of my worst fears. Whenever I run on the roads, I always try to stay at least a few steps ahead so I can make sure that I can see all the holes and all the cracks. And I've tripped so many times. That's why that's why my surgery up tomorrow. It's because I tripped
Yeah.
and fell and hit the
Ooh.
ground. But yeah, it's crazy. I like the idea of just don't give up. Like it's such a simple thing to say. When, as you pointed out, marathons are not easy. And all the people that say that marathons are easy, I think they're lying. Even the pros, they run these races. They'll get to mile 16, mile 19, and be like, you know what? I quit. I can't do this. I can't finish. And these are some of the fastest people in the world. Nobody bats an eye at them. To somebody, for instance, like sees your pictures and you're smiling and you look like you've got this. So one of my favorite things is to always show people, or I show a picture and then I'll explain what's happening in the background. You might see me smiling, but like my ankle went out at mile 20 when I was doing Chicago in 2022. But my pictures after mile 20, I'm smiling and I'm posing. But in reality, I walk around that entire thing and was limping and stopping at every single biofreeze station that they had in order to have them spray my ankles. So I hopefully could be able to cross the finish line in Berlin and passed out. But my pictures in Berlin were pretty decent. It's hard sometimes for people to. You just reminded me that marathons are hard because I've done so many now that I just am kind of like, I should be able to do this, but in reality, because it's become such a staple in my, I don't realize that people in general don't run marathons. That's not something that so many people do because I'm in such a bubble of runners in the running community online and things like that. It's what we do. But when you step out of that, none of my friends, nobody in my family, nobody I work with has run a marathon. And I need to remember that of like, it might seem like something that I can do, but to so many other people, it's looked at as like this massive, extraordinary thing. And what I would love to know, speaking of being outside of the running community, is how has running changed the way that you handle discomfort or challenges, not with running, but like outside of it, like with your job, with your family, things like that.
Boy, I can literally say, and I've said this a bunch of times, in more ways than one, running probably saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
The physical aspect's obvious. And honestly, people have seen pictures of me. They don't believe it. Before I started even losing the weight before I started running, I was 275 pounds at my max. The year I started running, I was actually 250. By the time I started running, I was down to 215. Now I'm sitting in the upper 170s, so it's definitely helped me in the health perspective. Along with, having to eat better and all that stuff. But the ways it really saved me was the mental side and the emotional side. I always said I was not going to run a marathon, and sure enough, then I did. And then I said, I'll never run New York because everyone's saying I got to run New York. Because I said, I cannot handle being around that many people. Sure enough, I got into Chicago and I lost my last excuse. So I'm like, all right, let's 9+1 and do New York in 24. It's forced me to get myself uncomfortable. And I think I've started to get that comfort with the uncomfortable. Mm. Obviously when you're running races, something's going to, something in your body gets uncomfortable. But I'm already figured out all the uncomfort in my own mind just to get me to the start line. To have to be around 50,000 people plus spectators, all that mental discomfort, the physical pales in comparison to it. That's I think where running really has done the best for me. Outside, being around like-minded people and having a supportive group and everything like that. Just getting to become, you take care of one part of the, the triangle, mental, emotional, physical, the others will fall into place. And I think that's the best way I can really say it. I mean, I apologize. It's not maybe not the greatest answer, but it's the best way I can
No,
explain it.
no, that's a perfect answer because running saved my life too. I really identify with your story of the weight loss that came with it because I was 210 pounds and now I'm in the 160s or so. It's obviously when we start running, we set out usually in some sort of way to get healthier, whether it's losing weight, just getting physically fit, building our endurance, lung capacity, things like that. But a lot of people don't realize on the other side of things that they talk about this runner's high, and obviously when you first start running you don't get that at all because you're just trying to survive and live through however many minutes or miles you're trying to run. But once you finally get it and you start to get that mental clarity and you start to be able to run through your emotions, you get to start to process them a little bit more because of what you're doing. It changes you. It really helps you learn how to handle life's curveballs, and not just with your running, but being able to think through things a little bit deeper, being able to be uncomfortable being comfortable in the uncomfortable. Because as you pointed out, something's going to come up during your marathons. It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to change some way, shape, or form with what your A game plan was to go to B or to go to C. And I'm the same way. I usually have an A, B, and C goal when it comes to that. And if I don't hit that, then it's just finish.
But that's always the last goal.
Yep.
Always
Yep.
the last goal. You see, you accomplished something.
Yep. But no, I that explanation for how it handles discomfort is in your everyday life is very true. And I really identify with that. Now, in terms of the progress that you've seen over the years, I know that you broke that 20-minute K twice recently, and you have a half marathon coming up this weekend. How has the definition of progress for you changed as you've gained more experience with your running?
I think, progress is what they say. Progress is not linear. Like you're going to have your up seasons, your down seasons, I think it really comes down to, okay, I kind of like set the goals nowadays of like what scares me a little bit. Sub 20 was something I was chasing for a while. And it happened actually when I really wasn't thinking about it too much. Go figure. My half marathon goals keep, my coaches always say, oh, let's go for this. You got this. In the last 2 years, I'm trying to think now. Oh yeah. So it's actually, it's even longer. 21, the end of that, I hit a time that I was not even coming close to thinking about. We just happened to have a fast course it was the first time the course ever ran. We had it ended up being a very fast course, very favorable wind conditions, everything. And from there, it's like, okay, I didn't really try for half marathon PRs for a little bit. Fast forward to 2024, finally get a PR in the event. And it's like, okay, I think you can hit my coach's like, okay, I think you can hit under 135. I'm like, no, not happening. But sure enough, it did. Barely. Then came this year. It's like, all right, I PR'd in Eugene. Turn around, get back to the local course where I always hit numbers and missed the goal, but still got the PR. For me now, okay, progressing on the half. It happens when it happens. Now comes, well, there's one goal left that scares me. And my only thought of progress is going to be, well, I'm not going to hit that goal the first time. Well, let me rephrase. I want to hit the goal the first time. I will not be upset if I don't, because I know I'm going to progress towards it eventually, which is I want to earn Boston. I want to actually earn it. I've got a long way to go. I feel like, I mean, it doesn't, I'm taking advantage of the fact that next year in the fall, I technically qualify as a 45-year-old despite only being 43.
Yeah.
And I get that 10-minute bump.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to shave, close to, with figuring a buffer, I need to shave over a half hour off my best marathon.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a different runner than I was at the end of last year. So I now look at progress as being like, okay, I don't have to hit the exact goal, but what can I do to get myself just that much closer? Mm-hmm. And it just depends on what it is. Like marathons, it's going to be that. 5Ks, I don't even know what there's left. So I'm like, my progress is going to be, okay, I'm just going to do them for fun if I ever do any. half marathon, there'll always be something to me to look forward to. But for me, my progress is not the speed, it's 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different type of progress.
Yeah.
Or now doing a couple races in Europe, in March. So
Yeah.
progress looks different to me from distance to distance. Because at some point you just can't get faster. So you have to find different things of what you want to do to still feel like you're accomplishing something, have a different type of goal. And listen, if it comes to the end of the day where it's like someone's like, hey, can you pace me to this? All right, my progress is end. Well, now I'm learning how to pace somebody.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and this kind of goes hand in hand with that last question, but is there something that you used to care about a lot as a runner that matters much less to you now?
Probably the 5K distance in general.
Like running the races, or just like worrying about the distance, or
I mean, I'm at the point where I've joked. I've said I don't need to race another 5K ever again. I've got a great time. I've proven it wasn't a fluke. I love the longer distances more. Yeah, 5K. Listen, if you're starting in 5K is what your goal is, and it's your goal, like I will never dissuade anyone from what their goal is. Like every distance is important. For me, it's like, I'd just rather be running a half than a 5K if I can. That's all it really means to me. Besides that, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't think of what else. I can't think of really anything else like that's like a serious answer for that.
well, I think now you got to go for a sub 40 10K.
That might be a goal. I know I'm running. I haven't raced a 10K. I'm looking at my PR board, which is actually behind the computer, in front of me here. I haven't raced a 10K in almost 2 years.
Well, now you gotta.
Yeah, I know when I'm doing one. There's only one on the calendar for next year. It's part of a charity team that I'm their race director for. So probably London Marathon weekend, I'm going to race the 10K, and just to see what happens, because I definitely know that PR can easily get broken.
Well, I look forward to seeing about that, because I'm going to hold you to the fire.
I mean, listen, sub 40, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's right now 42:38. I'm pretty sure I can go under 41.
Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that. I know you can do it. Now, this portion is, I want to talk about just some reflection and talk about the purpose of running in your life. So you've been running for a while. Your goal is 50 states for half marathons, and continuing to run your marathons as well. Why do you think running continues to be a part of your life, even when sometimes it might not feel exciting or convenient because of things like your job or your family or things like that?
I mean, in a weird way, it's like pretty much 90% of my social life nowadays. I'm not going to lie about that. Family is a little, as much as, I definitely have a supportive family. It's just, they're not here in New York. So I don't have like, the family get-togethers or anything like that. My get-togethers are usually go to the run club, go to see my, Milltown runners. I'm just going to say the name. See, even if I don't run at nights, I'll go Tuesday nights to hang out. I'll go Thursday mornings to run with them. I have another group called Green Street Running Club that we go different places around Long Island. Usually, assume my Saturdays are open. Not always. I try to go see them, and that's the biggest thing for me running. It's pretty much my community now. That's what I have. I do have some other groups, but really that's my social life nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the biggest thing that keeps me is the fact that I've got people who I want to be around, running with, talking with, partying with at times, being in the middle of a mosh pit with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not kidding on that one either. But yeah, that's I think what keeps me going right now with it is community.
Oh yeah. Running is a massive, I personally run by myself just because I don't have like there's no real big running community around me. The closest one is probably about a half hour, 45 minutes away. They are, I don't want to say they're pros, but they are a lot better than me in terms of what they're capable of. But the running, the community that I've built online is probably unlike anything that I've ever had in my life. And it's weird because the majority of it is with people that I've never met and with people that I don't know, but their support and their guidance and the belief that they have in me is just something that keeps me going. And I know that that's probably exactly what keeps you going with your running, is being around those people and getting that support, which is fantastic. One thing that I wanted to ask is, so let's go back in time to when Mike decides that, or is thinking about getting involved in running. He's not sure. Uh, I mean, in terms of the knowledge of what you have today, when it comes to, you have your coaches with understanding your different types of runs and your pacing and your most likely your shoes and the type of apparel you wear. If you can go back and talk to that Mike at the very beginning, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Learn how to run slow.
At the-
Once I started getting, once I started getting a little fast, like I just knew, like I said, I knew go. My first half marathon, I'll give you the quick story. This is, it was like my 1 year anniversary run was my first half marathon. And I had a goal to be about 10-minute pace, go right at 2:10. I did all the training. I didn't understand the speed work at all. And I just, one guy I passed a little early on. He's like, you're going kind of fast. And I said, Dick, I'm just running. That's like, I was like the Forrest Gump line. I'm just running.
Mhm.
Hit the wall, not there far after. I finished that first one in like 2:02 something. I think it was like, it was 2:02, maybe like 04 or something like that. And I just remember, like, I didn't know anything really. So just like learning how to run, for lack of a term, correctly, the 80-20 rule,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Or, even actually at that point, I'm pretty much only running like 1, maybe 2 days a week. And one of those days was being a race, or if there was multiple races on the weekend I was doing. Like that'd be the other thing. Don't schedule 16 races in 13 weeks while you're half marathon training.
Dang. Okay.
I'm not, like mostly 5Ks, a 4-miler here or there. I think there's like 1 10K. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I just
No.
I just had the bug and just went with it. So I know my coach Natalie will love this story because I remember it to no end. Before she started work with me, she was trying to figure out, like, she was like, okay, what's the goals, everything like this. I said, okay, I had a 4-hour marathon in my head. This is, again, during COVID times. But she saw everything I was doing. She's like, I want you to run slower.
Mm.
Do a run slower, send it to me. I'm like, all right. I think around the time I was like 7:45 pace-ish, I think, somewhere like around there. So I knock it down about 8:45. And she's like, yeah, that's your marathon pace. You need to run slower than that. And this was like this was like the concept of like, okay, I need to relearn everything. So she got me there. And to this day, she's still, like I said, I swear, like I will never go have another, unless she quits, which I doubt she will. Like I will never have another coach.
That's incredible. No, it's funny. You just reminded me, the person who told me to slow down was my physical therapist.
Well, that's the other thing. She's also my physical therapist and strength coach.
You are lucky.
Yeah. So I got her in the old one, and now her husband Tom does all my speed planning and all the planning of that thing. So they work in tangent to get me everything I need.
That's awesome. That's awesome to have all the same person being able to do all that for you. That's crazy. So a question that I'm starting to ask everybody, as you know, the title of this podcast is At Your Own Pace, right? You hear that phrase, what does that mean to you in running or even beyond it?
Well, with running, it means, everyone's different. My slow is not going to be, everyone says like, your slow is my fast type thing.
Mhm.
And I have so many people who are like, yeah, I want to run with you, but you're too fast for me. I think you just lost that argument, because if the GOAT of marathon running can run a 2:01 half,
Mm-hmm.
I can pace you no matter what. And I mean, there are people who don't believe it. I'm like, and I go to them like, haven't I ran like 9:30s with you? Or when my coach was expecting, I was running 11, 12-minute paces with her at times. So she had somebody with her. Like, I have no excuse ever again to to not run with you because of a pace. Like I have no problems doing it. I ran today. I went with, a couple of the girls who are slower because I'm not going 5-6 miles with the fast people when I'm tapering, but also, but I usually hang at their pace. I have no problems doing it. And I'm not too good for anyone else's pace. Like I'm not that person. If you need me at that then I can be there. At your pace it's your speed, your distance, whatever you need to do. That's your pace. And that goes with, I guess it kind of goes with everything, like I'm a habitual overthinker, as we've talked about. Like if you're not, and you need more time to realize stuff, like, yeah, take your time. Like I'm not perfect. Nobody is. And everyone just lives life the way they should.
Hey everybody, before we get into our last segment, I wanted to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, and that is For The Run. For The Run is a running apparel company that creates really high quality shirts, hoodies, and everyday gear designed for runners who care about the why they run just as much as they care about how fast or how far they can go. Their clothing is comfortable, durable, and made to be worn on runs, to races, and in everyday life, all while carrying messages that celebrate mental health, community, and personal growth through running. If you're someone who believes running is about more than performance and likes wearing gear that reflects that mindset, For The Run is absolutely worth checking out. You can find them at forthe.run. And if you use the code FTR-Mike Runs Marathons, you can save 10% off your next purchase. All right, now back to Mike. Now, this next portion that I have is something that I call the hot seat. And these are a couple questions that I have that are just rapid fire, give me your answer without thinking kind of type of questions. So I don't want you to think too hard. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you these.
This is going to be the hardest set of questions you got.
The first is going to be trail or road?
Road.
What's your favorite running shoe brand right now?
Asics.
Early alarm or late runs?
Wait, say that again?
Early alarms or late runs?
Early.
Long run, I probably know this. Long run solo or with others?
Believe it or not, solo.
Well, I was expecting the other.
The groups runs are good for like medium stuff, but long runs, even when I do meet up with a group, I just end up always on my own because it's just, especially if it's like a, marathon pace workout or something like that, like I need to be in that zone. So.
Got it. No, that makes complete sense. Sweet or savory post-run meal?
Savory.
What would that be?
Gosh, give me some pancakes. But buckwheat flour pancakes. Or actually, lately I've been doing the Scott Jurek 8 different types of flour pancakes. So,
okay,
yeah, his book Eat and Run. He's got a recipe in there for pancakes. It makes like two meals for me. So, but it's like combination of 8 different flours. If I don't have one, I just take another double portion of something else. And
awesome. That's
great. Really good.
Awesome. I'll have to try them out. Music, podcast, or silence on your easy runs?
Podcast. Very recently, been a lot of podcasting. I'm trying to get into more of them now. Like I finally started listening to Will for Run, I think it's called, and Allie on the Run are the 2 new ones. But I've been listening to. If I know like Tuesday's my easy run, I know On the Runs comes out. I'm listening to it. I know you know them.
I love them.
Oh my gosh, them. Or if it's a Wednesday, Des and Cara usually comes out that day. So like I have a plan.
Awesome. What is the one piece of running gear that you can't live without, and it cannot be your shoes?
Flip belt.
Okay.
Carries my phone and my key.
Nice. Smart. And what is your dream race?
Right now it's Boston.
Okay.
It's qualifying for Boston.
Yeah, definitely. So these last 2 closing questions are questions that I ask everybody because I'm gathering the information so I can share with other people. The first is going to be pick a quote or a mantra or a line that helps get you through those tough miles.
I'm trying to think, because I'm like literally thinking of the My Race tats right now, which my favorite one is there. Believe in your training, and you believe in your training and you got this. So you can probably almost combine them because those are my favorite too.
Yes. I love you got this. It's funny, the people that I've spoken to who have given me their quotes, they sound so simple, but they are so profound when it comes to your running. And especially when you're hit mile 20 in a marathon and you run the risk of hitting that wall, it helps you a lot more than you think it does. And now the last question I have is, so you have your half marathon this weekend. I want you to picture yourself crossing that finish line, right? There's all the people around you, the crowds are cheering. What song is playing through your headphones as you cross that finish line?
Okay, if I do this right, I always think of like the finish line as home. So it's probably, I can't remember what order I have it in, but it's probably like Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's it's either, I mean, that's the one I'm hoping for. It's either, I just can't remember which order I put them in. It's either that or Daughtry's Home. One of those two.
Oh, yes, yes. Those are two good songs. That's awesome. But those are actually all the questions that I had for today. Mike, I really want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me and share your story and your approach to running. I really appreciate how you are really honest and you're really grounded for everything that you do to maintain consistency over the long haul for your trainings and as you work towards your 50-state goal, especially when life is busy and especially when the motivation can sometimes not be there. If you're listening and you don't already follow him, go check out. So it's at Bauer, Bauer, Michaels 83 on Instagram. And his page is a great reminder for all of us that progress doesn't have to be loud and that showing up still counts regardless of, what's going on around you. And as always, remember to run at your own pace and to trust the season that you're in. So, Mike, I really want to thank you again for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, absolutely. This has been a blast.
Awesome. And I really want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen and watch this podcast and tuning into At Your Own Pace. Whether you're walking, you're jogging, you're racing, or you're just dreaming of getting started with your running story, everyone has a story and everyone belongs here at every pace. So until next time, I want you to keep running your story 1 mile at a time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Can we do it?